check. How y'all doing? Y'all excited? We're here to celebrate culture, diversity, equity, inclusion, right?
Yes.
My name is Ebony McMorris. Look, I'm excited to be here because, as the announcer said, I'm in the White House every day, and I see literally every day how propaganda has become policy. And it's July 4th, a day that the country is celebrating independence, while we are literally seeing people lose their freedom in real time. So I'm thankful to those who are watching. I'm thankful to Essence for even creating this space where we can talk. And I know the panel before broke down what's happening in the White House with this big, ugly bill that's robbing the people and giving to those who are wealthy. But I also want our panelists to just talk about, as we discuss misinformation and disinformation, what it's looking like in their spaces. And if y'all have any questions, look, I know we're not doing too much Q&A, but I do like amens. Can I get an amen this morning?
Amen.
Amen, 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 amen. So let me ask you this. We're talking about misinformation and disinformation. Talk about the difference and how it's showing up in your work.
Yes, absolutely. So there's something called the information disorder spectrum, right? It's really called like the spectrum of lies. And we've got misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. Misinformation is just incorrect information, any incorrect information. So let's say incorrect polling hours, right? Disinformation requires intent. It's lies with the intent to lie. And so if somebody's actively pushing incorrect polling hours to communities, they're spreading disinformation. And then the third is malinformation. Now, malinformation is information that's either true or has a kernel of truth in it, right? And is being used to manipulate and harm communities. That can be things like hacked materials. That can be things like putting your personal information online. Or, as we see right now, taking a kernel of truth and twisting it, and pushing it towards communities to make them believe that certain things are happening that are not. And so all of them are just basically, you can just call them all lies.
I was about to say, it sound like lies. I had never heard of malinformation, but it sounded like spin. Got a little bit of kernel
That's
of
right.
truth, but it's still a lie at the end of the day. Catherine, let me ask you, you've built you're building an entire digital museum around preserving the stories of Afro-descended people globally. What role does historical erasure play on misinformation, and how can we begin to re-educate people?
I mean, our history is how we understand ourselves.
That's right.
It shapes our understanding of who we are, what legacies have come before us, and in all of that, I think one of the biggest things when it comes to our historical erasure, it disconnects us from our sense of identity. When we lose that, we lose an essential part of who we are. And I think the biggest way for us to re-educate ourselves and how we begin to re-educate ourselves is, one, by having humility. It's recognizing that we do not know everything, but we are capable of learning everything. And it's really powerful because once we're able to do that, we allow ourselves to have room to do what we need to do in figuring out the next steps.
Ezade, let me bring you into the conversation because
Yes.
you've competed on global stages.
Yes.
Where media narratives don't often tell the full story, especially for Black women, for different cultures. Have you experienced that misinformation or I'm just calling lies, right? Lies. The lies people tell in the world of sports and in the world of media. How are you flipping that script also?
For example, I'm flipping the script just by showing up myself authentically every day, unapologetic myself, being myself of who I've always been my whole entire life. Being in a male-dominated sport, especially like basketball, oftentimes when you fight for certain rights or when you fight for better treatment or even better pay, you get this this Black woman or this angry Black woman narrative. And it's all about just trying to reshape that. You know, it's okay to stand up for yourself. It's okay for you to fight for better pay, better wages, or just better conditions in your work setting. So I think for me, it's just about showing up through my nonprofit, showing young girls how to tell their stories, tell it the truthful way, using my platform to it's my responsibility to use my platform in a way where I can give the correct information to young girls, to the youth, to whoever's listening. And I think I'm doing a great job at that now, flipping the narrative. But it's important for us to just show up as ourselves and not allow these narratives to kind of tear us down.
And sometimes that's kind of hard.
Yes.
Showing up, and I know there may be some people here, you go in and out to your job, and you feel like your voice is being silenced, even when you're hearing disinformation. And so many times we've taken it, we've leaned into it. Yeah. But it is so talk about some of your work with Onyx Impact that's rooted in data and narrative strategy.
Yes.
How are you answering that issue that we're having sometimes and being able to combat that disinformation and misinformation?
So Onyx Impact, we're a research and digital innovation lab that is fundamentally focused on fighting disinformation and using AI and tech to help build brighter Black communities online. And I think what's so important here is to realize that, one, disinformation works on everybody. It works on everybody in this room, everybody in this crowd. Why? Because our brains work in a similar way. And that is that the more times you hear something, the more likely you are to believe it's true, and the more likely you are to believe other people believe it's true as well. Our brains substitute repetition for truth. And in a moment that we are in of hyper-amplification, when social media can put the same image or message in front of you over and over and over and over again, it's never been easier to convince people of things that are not true. And so Onyx Impact, we've got amazing digital tools, the Digital Green Book. If y'all take out your phones right now and go to digitalgreenbook.org, you will find tools, tips, resources for how to spot disinformation, how to fight back, where to go, and you'll find an AI tool named Aisha that can answer all types of questions. What is going on with this federal bill? How is it going to impact Black people? What is AI? How do I use it? How do I find investment opportunities in my community for Black people? Whatever you got, Aisha is built on Black news. She's built by us. She's built for us. And she's here trying to fight this exact issue that you're talking about today.
Can we give it up for Aisha?
Ooh, yeah, Aisha.
Can we give it up for
Aisha.
a Digital Green Book? I love it. But let me just poll the audience really quickly. How many of you are on social media, Instagram, TikTok? How many of you are? Leave your hand up. Out of those who have lifted their hands, how many have shared something that you thought was true, later discovered that it wasn't, but you shared it? I'm going to leave mine up.
Yeah, me too.
How many have then gone back to take it down? You just leave it. Okay, I don't. Sometimes,
y'all,
right? You're trying to
back
think about
and take it down.
But we're talking about how quickly lies travel. I'll give an example. I just saw something on Instagram. It was a preacher cussing, and I was like, "Ooh!" And then I looked in the comments, and then everyone that was like, "That's AI." When I tell you that thing looks so real, I was sharing it with everybody, but that's how quickly information travels, and we treat it like it is truth. Catherine, let me ask you, we're seeing AI-generated images now rewriting history. We can even look politically at what happened with the gentleman, Abrego Garcia, who they had sent, who they had sent away, and then I was in the briefing room when they said that he had MS-13 tatted on his hands, but that was photoshopped. That's coming from the highest levels of government, right? Yeah. So can you talk to us about AI images rewriting history?
I think the biggest thing about AI is recognizing that AI isn't a human, right? AI can't create a soul. And so we can utilize AI as a tool and a helpful tool in a beautiful way, but it can't take away what we as humans have, that soul that we have and what we bring to the table and the history that we have for that. So again, I think AI is one of those things that I love to use personally.
How many
I'd love to use Aisha.
You use it? I want the hand.
100%. But remembering that, in using AI can't work without you. Yeah. It can't work without what you bring to the table, so making sure you're bringing yourself to that.
Absolutely. And there's a danger, although, in not confronting how it erasing things in very in very real time, right?
that's right.
And so we have to be careful. And this is just a warning to people. When you're looking at things, don't be so quick.
Yeah.
Don't be so quick to share. And because it feeds the algorithm, it feeds the beast. And I'm not.
And just on that point, one of the things we try to tell folks, when you're online, if there is any type of post that elicits a strong negative emotional reaction, regardless of where you are on the political spectrum, pause and double check that it's true. Always.
Yeah.
All right, y'all, we pausing for a second before we start sharing, okay?
Or read the comments too.
I'm a comment person. Everybody goes to the
Yes.
comments. Yeah, I love the comments. I live for the comments.
Yes.
But Esosa, let's talk about your nonprofit a little bit more,
Yes.
because you're teaching young women in leadership.
Yes.
How are you teaching media literacy to help kind of have them make smart moves as it regards to algorithms and things like that?
That's a great question. I love to say that the algorithm is not your friend. Likes, comments, that doesn't equal truth, right? You have to do your research. You have to make sure the information you're putting out there is valuable information, not only just to you, but to the people that you're feeding it to as well. So young girls, we're just teaching just how to dissect what's real and what's not real. What you're putting out there, it lasts forever. One post can be on the internet forever, unless you're like working with the FBI or whoever, where they could just digitally delete everything. The stuff that you put out there into the media, it's going to last a long time. So you have to know how to dissect between what's real and what's not. And also, to the information that you want to put out about yourselves. A lot of the young girls, they're making TikToks and they're making videos and they're making, Instagram, Snapchats, and that's fine. Be your authentic self, live your truth, have a great time. But know when to separate what's real and not real. Okay, when it comes to the Photoshopping, or when it comes to the AI, or when it comes to just adding certain audios or tones on your video that can shift your algorithm, that's something that you don't want to do. So it's just all about making sure the girls are being mindful of what they post on their social media accounts. Make sure that they're aware what their algorithm is, where's it reaching to, what audience they're trying to attract. Because, for example, if you have a young teenager who's 13 years old and she posts a video of her like maybe getting ready for school, you don't want that algorithm to show up on an older guy or older person's account. And then now they're in the likes and comments. So it's just about still them being the authentic selves, but just knowing what to post, how to post, and what message that they're trying to send about themselves.
Let me say, on the comment with the young women, there was a study that came out years ago by Dove, and it asked young women, hundreds of women that they had surveyed, thousands of women actually that they had surveyed, their view of themselves and where they get that view from. Over 80% said that they got it from social media.
Wow.
So when they looked at how beautiful they were, what mattered, how they viewed themselves, it came from social media. And we live in a generation where most people are like this. Oh, I'm surprised there's something not wrong with our thumbs, scrolling all day long. And so they're getting more of that, and that could be a bot or something else. So the tools, what tools can we utilize?
So again, if you go to digitalgreenbook.org, there's an entire section on how do we protect our kids, right? How do we protect Black kids in this moment of increasing digital harm? When they talk about things like content moderation policy, what does that actually mean? That means that they are allowing more racism and anti-Blackness into our kids' social media feeds before we've even talked to them about what race even means, right? It teaches how do we talk about what does digital fluency look like for kids? How do we make sure that they know that the algorithms prioritize European-centric beauty standards, right? That their content might get deprioritized, right? Again, and this is also why it's so important that we have AI that is built with a perspective of Black history, Black excellence, Black joy, like Aisha. And it's also important that we are creating healthier online communities. And so one of my favorite parts of Aisha is if you just go there and you type your state in, whatever state you're from, she will give you a list of all the Black newspapers in your state and the links to how to just subscribe right now to make your online profile healthier, to make your online community healthier.
Ebony, sorry, I just want to piggyback off of the question you answered. I think also, too, it's not just about critical thinking. You got to have a lot of emotional discipline to be scrolling on social media and not kind of get that imposter syndrome, like, oh my God, this person's doing better than me, or this person's doing this person doing that. You got to have a lot of emotional discipline to be able to keep scrolling and say, I'm not going to feed my attention to that. I'm going to give my attention into something else. So it's not just about knowing like your self-worth, but also just having the emotional discipline to know that person is separate, that their path is different than mine. And my path might be slower, my path might be faster, but you got to be intentional on not getting imposter syndrome, because I've had that oftentimes. Like, yes, I played in the Olympics twice. Yes, I played on global stages before, but when I see other athletes that have done it before me, I'm like, wow, am I gonna get there? Is the work showing? So it's also about being emotionally sound and emotionally disciplined and knowing my time is gonna come and not allowing what I see on social media to influence that or influence my work ethic.
No, that's good stuff. I think all of us here, young, doesn't matter where you are in life, it is very easy to get caught up in what looks real, right? What looks real, and you can begin to compare yourself and put yourself someplace, and I'm just saying this, that God ain't told you to go. Yeah. That's really not a part of your journey, but because you see it so much, it has a mental health impact on you.
That's right.
It really does. Not to mention that on our black and brown community. So when the president comes out and says they're eating their cats and dogs, and people play that clip over and over, and then you see people purposefully create and curate content that negatively impacts communities. Now people are scared in their own neighborhoods because other people feed off of that and then come attack them. It has real life and real world consequences, right? So Catherine, for you, how do you see black communities fighting back and reclaiming our truths?
That's a really good question. I think one of the things that comes to mind is, I know we were talking about critical thinking, but when I think about it, I think of one, how we shift our mindsets, right? I think right now, especially in my generation, we think of accountability as an attack. We think when people are correcting us on misinformation and disinformation, they're actually criticizing us when they're really trying to make sure that they're spreading truth, right? And so one, I think one of the biggest things is like, take a beat, right? Take a deep breath and be able to respond and not react. And then utilize the platforms and resources that are available to us. I think Aisha is a great perspective of like a great point of like what exists. And there's also like Looking Glass, which is an AR platform that's developed that talks about Black history in Pittsburgh. There's so many that are out there that if we just do a little bit more time doing that research, we can reclaim our history because we'll know it.
I love it. And I want to just give to our other panelists how we can use, just some steps, how we can use technology not to be a problem, but to also be a solution. Yeah. You talked about the digital green book, but what are some other ways that we can use it to be a solution?
One of the things that I think we can use technology and social media to do is to push back against the amplification of lies around our community, around Black communities. And because when we see the virality of lies about Black communities, let's take DEI. What did they do with DEI? It was a disinformation tactic, right? They defined DEI as corporate classes that kind of suck. And as long as they could define DEI as corporate classes that kind of suck, they were able to defund sickle cell research. Yeah. They were able to cut funding for HBCUs, take millions and millions of dollars away from Black entrepreneurs, right? They were able to cut all types of Medicaid healthcare programs for Black people. Why? Because every time they said it was DEI funding, our brains were already trained to believe that they were talking about corporate classes that sucked. So we need to be uplifting using technology, using the amplification that technology can do. What is actually happening? What do our truths look like? Because if we don't reclaim our truths, other people are going to tell it for us.
I think the sad part of that is, and you can jump in, is that especially on the issue of DEI, that some people were okay because they thought it just meant Black.
Right.
They was okay with it. Now realizing they're coming for you too.
Yep.
They're coming for rural America. They're coming for farmers. They're coming for veterans. They're coming for Asians. They're coming for everybody except for white land-owning men. And so now people who lean one way and thought that vote was going to be helping them, you ended up not just destroying one community, but destroying your own backyard. And that's why it's so important that we begin to tackle issues of misinformation and disinformation, but also to consider, like you said, the source.
That's right.
Yeah.
On the website, you said that there's a source that talks about Black-owned news sources.
That's right.
How many here in this audience that when you get up, I know you all maybe look at mainstream TV, but you actually in a habit of consuming Black news? I love it. Let's double down in that. I love it. And not just sharing that, but letting other people know, those who are in your own backyard.
That's right.
In your field, especially dealing in sports, give us some mistruths that we have, some lies, the lies that people tell. We really want to know that you hear, that you want to come against some misinformation and disinformation.
Yeah, especially with sports, right? A lot of times you see headlines about a player getting traded, or this player is injured, or this player getting a specific salary, or this player going to this team, right? And you think all that is true until the player actually comes out and say, okay, this is true, I'm going to this team, I'm going to that team. So for me, I think it's about believing the actual source. If it doesn't come from the mouth of the actual person who is being reported on, then you have to take everything that's said with a grain of salt. I mean, it's been quite a few times where I played in maybe another country, and maybe there's been a headline about me being injured, or there's been a headline about me not being professional overseas, and then sometimes I have to set the record straight and say, no, this is what it is, this is how it is, and that happens. You know, you go to other countries and people don't really know how it works, or what's your system in America. So they think that they can put out maybe like a certain headline, or maybe like or a certain agenda. But it's up to you to, like I said, stand to your truth and kind of put that misinformation to bed and really tell it like it is. And it happens a lot in sports, especially in the male world, especially in the women's basketball. I'm pretty sure who here watch women's basketball, WNBA, right? And you guys seeing the narratives with the Caitlin Clarks and the Angel Reeses. There's so many different narratives. And my thing is, if it's not coming from Angel Reese herself or Caitlin Clark herself, then I ain't trying to hear it. That's just what it is.
Say that one more time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, and I'm sorry to be so long with Ebony, but I wanted to piggyback off the information of, the concept on technology, right? I say if you can't beat them, join them. We have to take back our narrative and start pushing positive information out there, right? Let's start following pages that's telling the truth. Let's start following Black pages that give you accurate Black information on our Black people. Let's start following pages. Let's start sharing pages. Let's start posting the information that we need so that our people around us in our community are getting the correct information.
I love that. And I think that's important because how many can feel the fatigue sometimes of trying to figure out whether something is truth and a lie? Like, it is tiring sometimes. If there's a fatigue behind that, and I think to combat that is to let's go against that and set a new algorithm. Let's make sure that we are putting forth things that are positive, those things that are lovely, those things that are good to strengthen our communities, because it is leading to poor mental health in many communities. It is driving many people to have a lot of issues mentally because of what we see online. Talk about what you're doing, what people can expect with this digital museum. We just have like about 2 minutes left, but I'm so excited about the work that you're doing. Just talk about that very quickly.
Yeah, so the whole point of the museum is to connect the African diaspora. Growing up, my family was from Uganda, and I didn't hear about anything about East Africa or Africa in my college classes, or really in my high school, middle school. And so I was like, hey, as I'm learning about history, as I'm traveling to these places, I really feel like it'd be impactful for people across the world to be able to have a platform to be able to see this, right? I was able to live in Brazil for a few years, and I got to see all these different things about the African diaspora that connected that I had no idea about. And so I was really big on how do we disrupt this narrative that we're so disconnected, when, like, in reality, there's a through line between all of this in our history. And so I really want to do a job at promoting it and promoting the right history, right? Not having the misinformation. So going back to the people and asking them questions, going straight to the sources and asking them, hey, what makes sense? What looks good? What is the thing that really ties in our history all together? And so
we have just like 30 seconds left, just a quick wrap. And Esne, I'm going to start with you. Just a quick 10 seconds on, as we leave and talk about this, what you want people to leave knowing.
I want you guys to, and ladies, guys, ladies, all of you, to leave knowing that it's okay to be yourselves. It's okay to speak your mind, speak your truth. Just do it in a way where nobody can put this stigma or this narrative on you that you're angry or that you're frustrated. No, you're speaking your truth. Do it how you see fit. Read, do your research. If you feel like information is not real, don't share it. If you feel like you're passionate about something, share it. If you see something positive, share it. Don't feed into negativity, because that negativity will come back to you tenfold.
And Esosa, I'll let you have the last word.
Yes, I would say that right now in this moment, AI is already determining the news we see, who gets hired, who gets health care, right? It's determining our very reality. And if we're not building it, someone else is going to be building it for us, or more likely against us, right? And so we need to focus on and uplift Black news, Black resources, Black information, and we need to go to places like Aisha and the Digital Green Book, because like creating AI for our community should not be new, it should not be novel, it is fundamentally necessary at the end of the day.
I love that, and I'm just going to piggyback as we end to say, in this space of AI, that we must be not just consumers, but developers of it, so that we can also control our own narrative. I also want people to support Black-owned Black-owned news outlets and Black-owned businesses as well. I heard it said earlier that all we got is us, but that ends with all we need is us. I want to thank everybody for listening in on this panel.
Thank you so much.